Every day, we interact with the creatures around us. A cat purring on a lap, a bird navigating the sky, or a dog waiting by the door. We look into their eyes and feel a connection, but it leads to one of the most profound questions in science. Is there actually someone inside looking back? Is an animal truly awake and aware of its own existence? Or are we simply watching a highly sophisticated biological machine reacting to its environment? Today, we're peeling back the layers of the animal mind to explore the evidence for consciousness, the experiments that suggest it exists, and the skeptics who believe we're just projecting our own humanity onto the wild. In general terms, consciousness is the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings, thoughts, and feelings. It is often described as the internal light of the mind, the subjective experience that makes you feel like the protagonist in your own life, rather than a programmed machine. Scientists and philosophers typically divide into two categories: access consciousness, which is the ability to process information and use it to control behavior, and phenomenal consciousness, which is the raw feeling of things like the specific redness of a rose or the sharp sting of pain. While we cannot see consciousness under a microscope, we can find proof of its existence through our own internal experience and the biological structures that support it. The proof for consciousness starts with the neurobiological substrate, the complex network of neurons in the brain, particularly the interaction between the thalamus and the cerebral cortex, which creates a unified field of awareness. Another piece of evidence is integrated information. Our brains take millions of separate inputs, sounds, smells, and sights, and bind them into a single, seamless experience. Finally, there's the proof of metacognition, or our ability to think about our own thinking. The fact that we can reflect on our memories, doubt our decisions, or wonder about the nature of our own minds suggests that there's a conscious observer at the center of our biological processes. So, why would nature bother giving an animal a conscious mind? From an evolutionary perspective, consciousness isn't just a luxury, it's a powerful tool for survival. While simple organisms can survive on if-then instincts, more complex animals face unpredictable environments where a rigid code isn't enough. Having a conscious mind allows a creature to move beyond mere reflex. It enables them to learn from the past, plan for a future that hasn't happened yet, and navigate complex social hierarchies. By being aware, an animal can weigh different choices, feel the motivation of hunger or fear, and make a conscious decision to take a risk for a greater reward. In the eyes of biology, consciousness is the ultimate software update, turning a reactive organism into an active problem solver. The argument for animal consciousness isn't based on sentiment, but on hard data. In 2012, a group of the world's leading neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness, officially acknowledging that the neurological substrates of emotions and awareness are not unique to humans. Mammals, birds, and even octopuses possess the same complex brain circuits, like the thalamus and limbic system, that we use to process our own internal lives. Beyond biology, we see behavioral proof in complex problem solving. Unlike the rigid, repetitive instincts of an insect, animals like crows and primates can visualize a solution to a problem they've never encountered before, suggesting they have a mental workspace where they can model the world. This is further supported by convergent evolution. Just as wings evolved independently in both birds and bats to solve the problem of flight, science suggests that consciousness evolved as a necessary survival tool, allowing diverse species to navigate a complex, unpredictable world through genuine awareness rather than simple reflex. Perhaps the most mesmerizing evidence of an animal's internal world comes from the deep sea. While we sleep, our brains enter REM cycles where we see and feel a reality that isn't there. We call these dreams. Remarkably, we see a nearly identical process in the dreaming octopus. As these cephalopods enter a deep sleep state, their skin, which is covered in thousands of color-changing cells called chromatophores, begins to flicker and pulse. They transition from ghostly white to deep mottled browns and vivid patterns. as if they are replaying a hunt or reacting to a predator in their mind. Since an octopus's skin is controlled by its nervous system, this rhythmic flickering is a physical projection of their neural activity. Scientists argue that if the brain is replaying waking experiences while the body is at rest, it suggests the existence of a subjective internal world. It implies that the octopus isn't just a biological machine, but a conscious observer capable of experiencing a reality generated entirely from within. However, the case for animal consciousness faces a steep challenge from the world of behavioral biology. Critics argue that we often fall into the trap of anthropomorphism, the tendency to project our own human feelings and thoughts onto creatures that are actually operating on a much simpler level. If an animal behaves in a way that looks smart, is it because they are thinking or because they are following a rigid, evolutionary script? To understand this, we have to look at the broken code of nature. Consider the Sphex wasp. On the surface, her behavior looks deeply purposeful. She paralyzes a cricket, brings it to the edge of her burrow, and goes inside to check for safety before dragging the meal in. It looks like the actions of a cautious mother. But scientists discovered that if you move that cricket just an inch while she's underground, the wasp's program resets. She comes back out, moves the cricket back to the edge, and must go back inside to check the burrow again. Researchers have repeated this dozens of times, and the wasp never learns. She is trapped in a mindless, repetitive loop, proving that what looks like conscious care is actually just a hardwired biological reflex that we also see this skepticism in our own homes. Every dog owner knows the guilty look, the tucked tail, and soulful eyes after a vase is broken. But in a landmark study, researchers proved that dogs show this guilty behavior even when they haven't done anything wrong, provided their owner thinks they did and uses a scolding tone. The dog isn't feeling moral remorse or reflecting on a past mistake. They're simply reacting to human body language. It's a survival instinct to de-escalate conflict, not a sign of conscious conscience. Finally, we have the lesson of clever Hans, a horse in the early 1900s who supposedly could perform complex arithmetic. Hans was a sensation, but he wasn't a mathematician. He was a master of observation. He had learned to watch for tiny, subconscious changes in the facial tension of his audience. When he reached the correct number of taps with his hoof, the crowd would relax, just a fraction, and Hans would stop. He wasn't thinking about numbers. He was reacting to a cue he didn't even know he was looking for. These examples serve as a sobering reminder. Just because an animal acts like us doesn't mean it is thinking like us. So where does the truth lie? Are animals conscious beings navigating an internal world as rich as our own? Or are they simply biological machines following an ancient, sophisticated code? Perhaps the answer isn't a simple yes or no. Science increasingly suggests that consciousness isn't a light switch that is either on or off. It's a spectrum, from the rigid, mechanical loops of the wasp to the vivid, dreaming mind of the octopus. We share this planet with millions of different ways of being. We may never truly know what it's like to be a bat or a dolphin, but in seeking the answer, we learn just as much about ourselves and the mystery of our own minds. But what do you think? Does the evidence of the dreaming octopus convince you? Or do the instincts of the Sphex wasp keep you skeptical? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective on where the line should be drawn. If you found this deep dive into the animal mind fascinating, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more explorations into the wonders of the natural world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.